Hello everyone, welcome back to Relax History AI, where the past comes alive like never before. They once ruled the underworld and struck fear across America. Now, 20 of the most notorious criminals, Al Capone, Bonnie and Clyde, Lucky Luciano, are brought back to life with stunning realism using AI. Were they cold-blooded villains or symbols of a chaotic era? Comment below which gangster you'd like to see revived next, and join us as we explore the darker side of history. Note: the images and audio in this video are not real footage. All elements have been reconstructed using AI technology based on historical visual references to bring each figure to life in a vivid and well-researched manner. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
Number 1.
Joe Masseria, 1886–1931, nicknamed Joe the Boss, was one of the first Italian mafia bosses in America. He controlled much of New York's criminal activity in the 1920s and was a central figure in the Castellammarese War. Masseria was known for his ruthlessness and hunger for power, but was ultimately betrayed by his close associate, Charles Lucky Luciano. He was shot dead in an Italian restaurant in 1931, marking the end of the old mafia era. Joe Masseria was a quiet, cold, and absolutely unforgiving figure. He had an iron will and always remained calm, even when ordering killings. Under Masseria's iron rule, the Italian-American mafia rose to dominate the streets through organized violence and subtle intimidation. For him, power didn't need to be flashy. Fear alone was enough. Joe Masseria lived by the philosophy: silence is strength, always maintaining a chilling calm and never revealing his thoughts. He ruled New York through covert violence, bootlegging, and absolute obedience. His relationships with subordinates were built on fear, not trust. In the end, Masseria was assassinated while playing cards by a close associate, a cold death, fitting the way he lived.
Number 2.
Lucky Luciano, 1897–1962, born Charles Luciano, is regarded as the father of modern organized crime in America. He restructured the Italian-American mafia and established the Commission to distribute power among the crime families. Luciano controlled vast networks of gambling, narcotics, and prostitution across the country. Although he was convicted and later deported to Italy, he continued to influence the underworld until his death in Naples in 1962. Lucky Luciano, 1897–1962, Wundt, born Charles Luciano, is considered the father of modern organized crime in America. He restructured the Italian-American mafia and established the Commission to share power among crime families. Luciano controlled gambling, narcotics, and prostitution networks across the United States. Though convicted and deported to Italy, he continued to influence the underworld until his death in Naples. In 1962, Lucky Luciano was one of the most brilliant criminal minds of the 20th century, known for his strategic thinking and masterful organization. Instead of relying solely on violence, he built the modern mafia on a tight power structure and discipline. With the philosophy, crime should run like a corporation, Luciano turned Cosa Nostra into a global underground empire. The private life of Lucky Luciano contrasted sharply with his cold-blooded public image. Though never married, he had several relationships, the deepest with actress Gay Orlova. After his deportation, Luciano lived far from family and spent most of his time abroad. He died suddenly of a heart attack at Naples airport, just as he was about to meet a film producer about his life story.
Number 3.
Al Capone, 1899-1947, was the most notorious gangster in America during the Prohibition era. Born in Brooklyn, New York, Capone quickly rose to control Chicago's underworld through ruthless tactics and a sophisticated criminal network. Behind the front of a businessman, he ran an empire of bootlegging and gambling. In the end, Capone wasn't arrested for his crimes, but for tax evasion, and he ended his life in illness and obscurity. Al Capone was the most prominent symbol of American crime during Prohibition, famous for his boldness, power, and manipulation. He believed, "You can get more with a kind word and a gun." With that philosophy, Capone ruled his massive underground empire through violence and bribery, turning Chicago into the capital of organized crime. Al Capone lived between two opposing worlds, a brutal crime boss and a devoted husband and father. After bloody purges, he returned to his Florida mansion, beside his wife, May, and their small family. But after prison for tax evasion, Capone fell apart. Syphilis ravaged his mind. In 1947, Capone died quietly at the age of 48, ending a legend in loneliness and decay.
Number 4.
John Dillinger, 1903-1934, was one of the most notorious bank robbers in America during the Great Depression. With his daring personality, charming looks, and spectacular prison breaks, Dillinger quickly became a symbol of crime in that era. Though intensely pursued by the FBI, he managed to both terrify and captivate the public. In the end, Dillinger was shot dead in an ambush in Chicago in 1934. John Dillinger was the embodiment of confidence and deadly charm. With a sly smile and a roguish flair, he captivated the public, even earning the image of a modern-day Robin Hood. Dillinger loved playing the role of punisher to the banks, robbing the rich during the depths of the Great Depression. His fearless boldness and magnetic charisma made him a legend in chaotic America. The everyday life of John Dillinger was a string of days on the run, moving through cheap motels and hidden apartments. Though an outlaw, he liked dressing sharply in suits, dancing with his lovers, and enjoying fleeting romances. In the end, he was ambushed and shot by the FBI just as he stepped out of a movie theater. 3 bullets ended the life of a rebel, closing the legend in a pool of blood on the sidewalk.
Number 5.
Bonnie Parker, 1910-1934, was one of the most notorious female criminals in America during the Great Depression. She gained fame when she and her lover Clyde Barrow formed the Bonnie and Clyde gang, known for their daring bank robberies, once a smart, poetry-loving, and dreamy girl, Bonnie was swept into a spiral of crime. In the end, she and Clyde were ambushed and killed in a shootout that shocked the nation. A petite woman, yet known for her rebellious spirit and thrill-seeking passion. She loved writing poems, posing for the camera, and always appeared with the defiant flair of a careless star. Her recklessness and cold demeanor during robberies made her a name that terrified all of America. Bonnie was a living symbol of the seductive and dangerous outlaw. Bonnie Parker, a flame that never died in American criminal legend. She lived with Clyde through endless journeys, crossing states, hiding in tents, cars, and under the fear of pursuit. On May 23, 1934, Bonnie and Clyde were ambushed in Louisiana, hit by over 50 bullets. That death turned Bonnie into a haunting icon of wild love, crime, and defiant rebellion.
Number 6.
Machine Gun Kelly, 1895-1954. Born George Kelly Barnes, was a notorious American criminal who rose to infamy through robberies and kidnappings. In the 1930s, he took the nickname Machine Gun for always carrying a Thompson submachine gun. The kidnapping of millionaire Charles Urschel made him a top target of the FBI. Kelly was captured in 1933 and remained in prison for the rest of his life, dying at Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary. Machine Gun Kelly, the boastful machine gun boss, was actually a timid man, living under the control of his wife, Catherine. He only played the part of a gangster, while all criminal plans were orchestrated by his wife. The 1933 kidnapping of Charles Urschel exposed the truth. When captured, Kelly begged and wept, completely contradicting the violent image he tried to project. Machine Gun Kelly, the machine gun boss with a tough exterior but a weak soul, lived entirely under Catherine's manipulation. Out of love, he blindly followed her criminal schemes, from robbery to kidnapping. When arrested after the Urschel case, Kelly pleaded in fear, his gangster image fully shattered. In 1954, he died quietly in prison, closing a life of illusion and contradiction.
Number 7.
Ma Barker, 1873-1935. Born Arizona Donnie Barker, was the mother of the notorious criminals in the Barker Karpis gang. She was described by the FBI as the criminal mastermind behind a series of bank robberies and kidnappings in the 1930s. However, some historians argue that her role was exaggerated to justify her death. Ma Barker was shot and killed alongside her son Fred in a shootout with the FBI. In Florida, in 1935, Ma Barker was known as a heartless matriarch, always supporting and directing her sons in bold robberies. She didn't use violence, but manipulated through words and strict control. With an ordinary appearance and gentle speech, Ma Barker masked her ruthless nature, running the family like a structured crime syndicate. Ma Barker lived in hiding with her 4 sons, turning the family into a criminal gang. After separating from her husband, George, she devoted herself to managing her children's illegal operations. With no friends or social ties, She constantly moved between rented houses to avoid the law. In 1935, the FBI discovered their hideout in Florida, ending her life in a storm of bullets.
Number 8.
Babyface Nelson, 1908-1934, born Lester Joseph Gillis, was one of the most dangerous criminals in America during the Great Depression. Despite the nickname Babyface, Nelson was infamous for his extreme aggression and violence. A partner of John Dillinger, he took part in numerous robberies and bloody shootouts with police. In the end, Nelson was shot dead after a fierce gun battle with the FBI. In 1934, Babyface Nelson, a cold-blooded thief behind a youthful face, was known for his impulsive and wildly aggressive nature. Though small and young, he often fired first in shootouts, never hesitating with the police. He acted without restraint, leaving casualties everywhere. His ferocity and ruthlessness made Nelson a feared name across the entire justice system. Babyface Nelson, a killer with a childlike face, lived beside his wife as a true crime couple. Helen, his loyal partner, stood by his side through every car switch, hideout change, and gamble for survival. In the fatal shootout on November 27, 1934, he was hit by over 17 bullets. Nelson died in his wife's arms, ending a short, blazing, and brutal life.
Number 9.
Bugsy Siegel, 1906-1947. Born Benjamin Siegel, was one of the most influential gangsters in 20th century America, a founding member of the crime syndicate Murder, Inc. He stood out with his flashy lifestyle and ambition to turn Las Vegas into a gambling paradise. Though once close friends with many Hollywood stars, Siegel was murdered at his own home in 1947, a death that shocked both the underworld and American media. Bugsy Siegel, the embodiment of dazzling contradictions, elegant, charming, yet cold and ruthless. He was famous for his lavish lifestyle, obsession with fine suits and luxury cars. With a vision ahead of his time, Bugsy helped lay the foundation for Las Vegas, transforming a barren desert into a glittering entertainment capital, a symbol of extravagance and boldness. The everyday life of Bugsy Siegel was a mix of glamour and chaos. Though he had a wife and children, he became entangled in a passionate affair with actress Virginia Hill. Lavish parties, secret dealings, and a reckless lifestyle made his personal life increasingly fragile. In 1947, Siegel was assassinated inside Virginia's mansion, a tragic end, leaving behind many mysteries.
Number 10.
Pretty Boy Floyd, 1904-1934. Born Charles Arthur Floyd, was one of America's most famous bank robbers in the 1930s. Nicknamed Pretty Boy, Floyd was known not only for his bold heists, but also for his image as a hero in the eyes of some poor Americans. However, he was still considered a national threat and was intensely pursued by the FBI. Floyd was shot dead during a chase in Ohio. Pretty Boy Floyd, a bank robber with charming looks, but a rebellious soul. He was infamous for his defiant nature, fierce temper, and deep hatred of authority. After each heist, Floyd often burned debt papers for poor people. In the eyes of the public, he was a daring savior, but to law enforcement, he was a deadly threat, ready to shoot without hesitation. His recklessness turned him into a controversial legend. Pretty Boy Floyd lived a life full of contradictions, hunted across the country, yet viewed by the poor as a hero. While on the run, he secretly returned home, playing the role of father and husband in rare, peaceful moments. On October 22, 1934, Floyd was shot dead in a cornfield in Ohio, a photo of his wife and child still in his hand, a tragic death that ended the legend.
Number 11.
Dutch Schultz, 1901-1935. Born Arthur Flegenheimer, was a German-American crime boss active during Prohibition. Starting with bootlegging and extortion in New York, Schultz became notorious for his erratic temperament and brutal methods. After clashing with other mob leaders and falling under FBI scrutiny, he was assassinated at a restaurant in 1935, ending a turbulent criminal career. Dutch Schultz was a man of contradictions, impulsive, paranoid, and highly unpredictable. Prone to sudden outbursts, he often made rash decisions, only to change them moments later, always suspicious of those around him. Schultz lived in constant fear of betrayal and assassination. His mental instability made him a ticking time bomb in the criminal underworld. Dutch Schultz's personal life was chaotic, reflecting his arrogant and unstable nature. Though married to Frances Flegenheimer in 1931, he became entangled in a scandalous affair with dancer Lola Grauman. His combative personality led to frequent conflicts with mobsters like Luciano and Lansky. As his isolation peaked, he was brutally assassinated in a bloody gangland hit.
Number 12.
Arnold Rothstein, 1882-1928, was one of the most influential crime bosses in American criminal history. He was believed to be behind the fixing of the 1919 World Series, which shocked the sports world. With a sharp business mind, Rothstein built an underground empire spanning gambling, narcotics, and loan sharking. Though once known as the boss of all bosses, he was shot dead after a financial dispute in 1928. Arnold Rothstein, nicknamed the Brain, was a mastermind of crime with unmatched strategic thinking. Unlike violent gangsters, he ran the underworld like a skilled businessman, orchestrating million-dollar bets and manipulating the stock market. With brilliant intelligence and cold calculation, Rothstein became an advisor to many mafia bosses, including Lucky Luciano. Arnold Rothstein, the mastermind behind both the underworld and Black Wall Street, was known for his sharp intellect and silent control. He married Carolyn Green, but kept a private lifestyle, separating his personal life entirely. With the philosophy, information is money, Rothstein profited from gambling, smuggling, and speculation. In 1928, he was assassinated, leaving behind a mystery surrounding his vast fortune.
Number 13.
Meyer Lansky, 1902-1983, Hymie was one of the top financial masterminds of the American underworld in the 20th century. Born in Poland and immigrated to the U.S., Lansky was known for organizing money laundering, gambling operations, and investments in Las Vegas and Cuba. A close advisor to Lucky Luciano, he helped shape the structure of modern mafia. Though suspected throughout his life, Lansky was never convicted of any major crime in court. Meyer Lansky, the mob accountant, stood out for his cold logic, sharp mind, and masterful calculation. Unlike violent crime bosses, Lansky ruled the underworld with strategic thinking and rare composure. He was skilled at hiding emotions, always making decisions based on numbers and gain. His logical mind and secrecy made him a powerful brain behind the scenes. Meyer Lansky held deep connections in the criminal world, serving as Lucky Luciano's right hand and maintaining a long bond with Bugsy Siegel since youth. He collaborated with mob bosses like Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, but always kept a wise distance. Unlike many peers, Lansky had a stable family life, with his wife Buddy and 2 children. He died in 1983 of lung cancer, never having been convicted.
Number 14.
Johnny Torrio, 1882–1957. Born Giovanni Torrio, was one of the earliest architects of organized crime in America. He played a key role in building the mafia network in Chicago and was the mentor of Al Capone. Torrio was known for his intelligent, strategy-focused approach, rather than violence. After withdrawing from the underworld, he lived quietly and died of a heart attack in 1957. Johnny Torrio stood out for his soft, yet effective leadership style, always emphasizing structure and control. He believed, enduring power doesn't come from a gun, but from discipline and order. Torrio reformed criminal operations like a business, dividing roles and minimizing conflict. From the shadows, he created a stable mafia model, paving the way for Al Capone's rise. Johnny Torrio maintained a discreet lifestyle, strictly separating family from underworld dealings, with the philosophy, stepping back at the right time is part of victory. He left power after a failed assassination in 1925, distancing himself from turmoil and ambition. Though once an advisor to major mob bosses, Torrio chose a peaceful end and died of a heart attack in 1957, closing a cold but calculated chapter in mafia history.
Number 15.
Frank Costello, 1891–1973. Born Francesco Castiglia, was one of the most powerful mafia bosses in mid-20th century America, nicknamed the Prime Minister of the Underworld. He was known for his control of politics and gambling operations across New York. As the successor to Lucky Luciano, Costello maintained his influence without excessive violence. He survived multiple assassination attempts and died of natural causes. In 1973, Frank Costello was a symbol of soft power in the underworld, known for his cunning, calm demeanor, and strategic thinking. Unlike violent mob bosses, he ruled through negotiation and political influence. With a diplomatic style and practical mindset, Costello manipulated both the mafia and politics, becoming one of America's most powerful figures in the 1940s and 50s. Frank Costello lived amid glamour and power, skillfully maintaining ties with politicians, businessmen, and entertainers. He married Loretta Gagerman in 1918 and lived discreetly, though they had no children. In 1957, Costello survived an assassination attempt and gradually withdrew from the underworld. He died at age 82 of a heart attack in New York, quietly ending a hidden empire.
Number 16.
Hymie Weiss, 1898-1926, born Earl J. Wojciechowski, was the leader of the North Side Gang after the death of Dean O'Banion. Known by the nickname the coldest killer in Chicago, Weiss was Al Capone's sworn enemy and gained fame for his bravery. He survived multiple assassination attempts from rival mafias. However, in 1926, Weiss was ambushed and gunned down near a church in Chicago. Hymie Weiss, nicknamed the Bone Crusher of Chicago, was known for his cold demeanor, intelligence, and extreme caution. Unlike hot-headed gangsters, he calculated every move carefully. Weiss held grudges, was patient, and never turned his back to danger, always ready for confrontation. His toughness and strategic mind made him one of the most formidable opponents. Hymie Weiss lived by the philosophy: caution is the final shield of the survivor, always keeping a cool head and never revealing weaknesses. He kept distance from all relationships, even allies, believing trust was a fatal vulnerability. His relentless war with Al Capone made Weiss a prime target. In the end, Weiss was ambushed and killed, ending a life ruled by bullets and vengeance.
Number 17.
Dean O'Banion, 1892-1924, was the boss of Chicago's North Side Gang and a major rival of Al Capone during Prohibition, a gangster and a flower lover. O'Banion ran a flower shop as a front for his criminal operations. He was known for his daring nature and cunning mind. The power struggle with the South Side ended when O'Banion was assassinated inside his own flower shop, triggering a wave of bloody violence in Chicago. Dean O'Banion was a paradoxical crime boss, a refined florist, and a ruthless bootlegger. He had a rare charm, paired with a brutal gangster instinct, expertly blending polite diplomacy with bloody retribution. His volatile temper and arrogance made him one of the most unpredictable figures in Chicago's underworld. Dean O'Banion believed that the survivor is the one who strikes first. He used his polished demeanor to mask a dangerous nature, running his flower shop as a cover for a notorious bootlegging empire. His relationship with the Torrio Capone gang was always tense, marked by both cooperation and conflict. O'Banion was murdered inside the flower shop, a fitting end to a man who lived by the risky code. Flaunting wealth is a way to provoke enemies.
Number 18.
Vincent Mad Dog Coll, 1908-1932, was a notorious Irish-born gunman, active in New York's underworld. Known for his violent temper and recklessness, Coll worked as a hitman for mafia bosses before rebelling and forming his own gang. The nickname Mad Dog emerged after a shootout that killed an innocent child. In the end, Coll was ambushed and gunned down in a Manhattan phone booth at just 23 years old. Vincent Mad Dog Coll was one of the most deranged and unstable gangsters in New York mafia history. The nickname Mad Dog reflected his explosive temper, impulsive behavior, and boundless brutality. Unlike organized crime bosses, Coll spread terror through wild shootings, including killing children by mistake, instilling fear in both allies and enemies. Vincent Mad Dog Coll lived by a cold philosophy. Violence is language, chaos is power. He trusted no one, using people only as tools for his own goals. His relationship with Dutch Schultz collapsed over turf disputes in the bootlegging business. On February 8, 1932, Coll was ambushed and shot dead in a phone booth, a brutal end for a man who lived beyond control.
Number 19.
Clyde Barrow, 1909–1934, was the leader of the infamous Bonnie and Clyde gang, active during the Great Depression in America. Born into a poor family in Texas, Clyde once dreamed of becoming a musician, but circumstances pushed him into a life of crime. Alongside Bonnie Parker, he carried out a series of daring robberies and gunfights with the police. In the end, both were ambushed and killed in a shootout that shocked the public. Clyde Barrow was the embodiment of recklessness and defiance. With masterful driving skills, he turned each robbery into a dramatic chase. His mind burned with hatred toward the police, making him unafraid to open fire in bloody encounters. Tough, cold, and ruthless, Clyde lived as if death had never existed. Clyde Barrow lived like an exile in his own Texas homeland. His life was a chain of fugitive days, in a car thick with the smell of gasoline and sweat, rushed meals by the roadside, and restless sleep beside a loaded gun. Gas stations, cheap motels, and the wail of sirens were the constant backdrop. At 25, he and Bonnie fell in a hail of bullets, leaving behind a blood-smeared Ford V8, like a ballad of sin.
Number 20.
Albert Anastasia, 1902–1957. Born Umberto Anastasio, was one of the most notorious mafia bosses in American history. He co-founded the contract killing organization Murder, Inc., and later became the ruthless head of the Mangano crime family, predecessor of the Gambino family. Known for his brutality and ruthlessness, Anastasia was assassinated in the barbershop of the Park Sheraton Hotel, in one of the most shocking mob hits in American mafia history. Albert Anastasia, nicknamed the Mad Executioner, was one of the most violent figures in mafia history. He believed fear is the most effective form of control, and used that philosophy to rule, cold-blooded and unrelenting. Anastasia ordered hundreds of hits, punishing even allies without hesitation. His volatile aggression made him a nightmare in the underworld. Albert Anastasia was a brutal boss, with a complex web of relationships, often betraying allies when it suited him. His marriage to Elsa Rispoli was strained due to his violent nature. As the leader of Murder Inc., he clashed with Lucky Luciano and Vito Genovese. Anastasia was gunned down in the Park Sheraton Hotel's barbershop, shot multiple times before he could even draw his weapon. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to share it with your friends and hit subscribe so you won't miss our next exciting content.